straight away, do you agree that it's essential that Liverpool sign a centre-back in January rather than wait till the summer?
Yeah, I think that's a no-brainer, but I do think their biggest problem this year, they've got too many out-of-form players. I don't think if they get Mark Gahey, that's automatically going to problem-solve the issues they have. I think, you know, Ekitike, I think, has been a really good signing. You look at the players that they brought in, there's no denying he hasn't been good enough yet. Virgil van Dijk hasn't had his best season, Mo Salah, you know, so I feel like the signings that have come in, like Isak, hasn't really got going yet either. So I think there's just a lot of out-of-form players at Liverpool. I don't think that is their biggest problem. Virgil van Dijk and Konate haven't had their best seasons, but if you look around the team in its entirety, you know, you're always trying to find issues. Look at Liverpool last year. They won the league, they ran away with it, they were fantastic. And I say it all the time, Tom, honestly, the amount of stuff they've had to deal with off the field, I do think it's made a massive difference to them on the field. You've only got to look at Andy Robertson the other day, talking about Diogo Jota. I'm not making excuses for them, but honestly, they've been through so much, that football club. And I do think these things can have a domino effect and a knock-on effect psychologically. That's what I see anyway, because the difference between last season and this season is night and day. Arne Slot hasn't changed his tactics. You know, he's brought in players that he thought were going to be a step up from what they had. But I think Luis Diaz has been one of the biggest losses to that team. I really do. And I said it on the show last week that I felt like, you know, when a player wants to leave, they want to leave. But I don't think they did enough to try and keep him. You know, he probably wanted guaranteed first-team football, but he's the type of player that I think you can guarantee that. Trent as well.
Lost him.
Trent leaving. Mo Salah looks a shadow of himself. And I said last year, give Mo Salah, give him a 10-year contract, give him whatever he wants, because he's Mo Salah.
How would you be feeling if you were Joe Gomez right now? Because every Liverpool fan we have on, and we're about to speak to one, by the way, they say how Konate, his form has dipped, and he's out of contract at the end of the season. Joe Gomez is a centre-back, and he never starts.
Yeah.
How are you feeling if you're him? But you're knocking on the door saying, well, come on, I'm here. Everyone says we need a centre-back, I'm here.
Yeah, I like Joe Gomez. He's a South East London boy as well. He's from near me as well, so I always look out for him to do well. And I agree with you. I think he's almost become like that forgotten man at Liverpool, and I think he's got a lot to offer. I think he's got all the tools. You know, it was a few years ago they were talking about him being the next centre-back at England, but I think also another biggest problem is Kirkez since he's come in as well. Szoboszlai's been playing right back. I like Frimpong. I think he's got a bit to offer as well.
Connor
but they're
Bradley.
trying to
Connor Bradley as well.
But they're trying to. Arne Slot's trying to kind of fit everybody in, and he almost has to make difficult decisions and maybe leave out certain players that he might not. McAllister isn't having his greatest of seasons, and these things do happen. Liverpool have quality players, and I've no doubt that when they start firing on all cylinders, you know, they'll come good again. But the issue isn't just the centre-back position. It's a lot throughout the team that haven't been performing to the levels we know they can.
Sky Sports are partnered with Analysis, an app where passionate fans share their opinions on their club. If you want to represent your club, scan that QR code or visit the Sky Sports app for more details. We can speak to a Liverpool fan now, Montel Bowen. Montel, good morning to you. First of all, quite simply, how important is it that Liverpool sign a centre-back?
Oh, it's absolutely imperative. We have to get a centre-back in, and hope you guys are good, by the way. I just feel like I look at the back line, and for me, the wing back areas are exposed, and it's exposing our centre backs a lot as well. And I feel like I heard the Joe Gomez section. I feel like he probably should be getting a run out, whether that's at right back, and we've seen him have a stint at left back in previous seasons. He was one of the best left backs when he did have a cameo there under Jurgen Klopp in the last year. But he's our only fit centre back, so he has to be used so sparingly. We're in like a catch-22 situation, because we play him. We have no centre-backs on the bench. He gets injured. We're in a crisis again. We don't play him. It's kind of like, well, when is he going to get the minutes? Even though he probably deserves the minutes. And if he's not going to get any minutes right now, when is he going to get the minutes? So I think because of Leonie's ACL, like Kara said, I think we're in a really sticky situation.
So is Gahey's the one on everybody's mind because we know that Liverpool wanted him? Is Gahey the only person on your shortlist?
No, I mean, Schlotterbeck from Dortmund. I think he's a really good player. 25 years of age. I think he's 25 years of age as well. Got a lot of experience for, a centre back who you'd say is a little bit younger compared to like the seniors. And I just feel like he's a good mould, but he's probably more of a Van Dijk successor, probably more than a centre back just to come in now to fill out what we need to do. I actually think we need two centre backs. I think we need two centre backs because. Sorry, go on. I can see there.
No, I'm ready to go. But like Montel, good morning first and foremost. But like,
good morning,
this isn't the only issue though, is it? Do you not think this is like the thing people are talking about, because they're trying to figure out why Liverpool have been so poor this season. Like, there's so many out of form players, isn't there? Like, is that not a bigger concern than looking at these centre-back positions? Because ultimately, Virgil van Dijk's one of the best centre-backs in the world. Yes, he hasn't been to performing to those levels. Konate last year and the season before was decent. We all have runs of form that are not, we're not in form, right? But the issue, my issue with Liverpool, the bigger problem is the fact there's so many out of form players.
Yeah, and to me, again, we know what the things that have been happening outside of the club, but if we're talking just on the pitch, for me, it's the tactics. I think the manager's really struggling to make things work, and that's all over the pitch. If all of your best players are out of form, for me, you have to look at the one factor, and that is the manager. Our wide options, the way it leaves us exposed, that we play bagel ball. There's nothing in the middle. There's absolutely nothing in the middle. And if you look at our wing backs as well,
You say bagel ball?
Yeah, it's called bagel ball.
I love
nothing
that.
in the middle. There's nothing in the middle. There's no midfield. McAllister's fallen off a cliff for some reason. As I said, Kirkes and whether it's Frimpong or Bradley, even though Bradley's injured, these wing backs are either, they're always inverting, and they're not inverting wing backs. These aren't wing backs. Kirkes never inverted a day in his life. Why now have you all of a sudden decided for him to invert? Last season, the wing backs weren't inverting. We sat in 2 banks of 4 off the ball, and teams couldn't score. We lost 1 game before we won the league. 1 or 2 games max. I think it was 1 game before we mathematically.
It was Forest at home, yeah.
It was Forest at home. I think after that it was Fulham away. So why now have we lost X amount of games and it's not even Christmas? We're in November.
Yeah, I want to ask you that, because you said Nico Schlotterbeck there, which was quite interesting as a centre-back, because he's a left-footed centre-back, so is Mickey van der Ven. I'm bringing him up because remember the former Chelsea defender Khalid Boulahrouz, he thinks that van der Ven is the ideal successor to Virgil van Dijk, not just for the Netherlands, but for Liverpool as well. Now, that will upset Tottenham fans, because Mickey van der Ven is a key player for them, as Leanne said earlier on, just a few minutes ago. But there are other players out there other than Mark Gahey.
There are. I just feel like going down the Premier League proven route for centre-backs is probably more integral at this moment, because Liverpool are at a moment where, with the money we've spent, you think we can get it wrong again? No chance. There's no way we can get it wrong again, or look like we're in a situation where I've spent the money, but looks like we're going to have to play the guys we already have, because we can't. We are defending champions, and we are 8th with £450 million spent. Honestly, what I'm seeing tactically, it's not good enough for me. And I don't think the manager has to change the whole system, but there has to be tweaks that need to be made. We move the ball so slowly, it doesn't look like we have what's our style of play? Can you guys tell us our style of play? Go on. What's our style of play?
I was going to the ex-player there.
No, it's true, because you look at the players, but then again, who's that on? Arne Slot or the signings? Because obviously there's been talk a lot about him not being able to make the signings that he wanted, and ultimately, Montel, Isak hasn't worked out and Wirtz hasn't worked out. You know, welcome to Man United fans' world where we sign signings that just don't work out. That doesn't really historically happen to Liverpool, does it? And your style of play is very different without a Trent in the team. Mo Salah's game has to adjust. You know, Gavin Birch this year hasn't been great. Those types of players that I think stepped up for you last year, you know, and I think, I said it to a Liverpool fan on the show last week, you guys are doing what I'm sure a lot of the fans thought would happen last season after Klopp left. Does that make sense? It's almost been like, you win the league, Arne Slot comes in, does a fantastic job. This is where I think a lot of people thought you were going to be at last year, but then he wins the league, and then, you know, now it's almost like, where do we go from here? Tactics last year was spot on, in conundrum with the players, in combination with the players that you had. So, you know, it might seem like it's all a lot and a panic mode and all that, but you still have top quality players.
Oh yeah, I don't worry. Long term, I promise you, Wirtz is way too good technically. Isak, we've seen what Isak can do. It's not a long term thing when I worry about these players. The issue for me is that the manager had it spot on, and now he's implementing his. Now I'm not saying it wasn't his own tactics last season, but now they're actually his tactics. This is his team, and it looks like he's a little bit out of, not a little bit. He looks out of depth in my opinion. And when we're losing games, he's bringing on defenders. I love Joe Gomez to bits. He's never scored. He scored a goal when I was in college. So that's the last time he signed for Liverpool, and he hasn't scored a goal in 10 years. Yes, he's a defender. Why would you bring on Joe Gomez when we need 2 goals? Why are you bringing on Endo when we need a goal? We need to score a goal. The substitutions are negative. The players look like they don't know what's going on. And yes, there has to be an adaptation time. But you know the thing is at Man United, you don't really get the adaptation time because of the size of the club. No matter what you're winning, you always have to go and improve and make sure when things aren't going well, there's a bottom level.
Because we're a bigger club.
Yeah, no, we've had that conversation. But generally speaking, my concern does lie more with the manager, and that's not to say the players need to improve. But if Isak's getting 8 touches a game and then getting taken off in the 70th minute, I'd be annoyed. I'd be annoyed as well. We don't give the striker the ball, and even Ekatike's got 1 goal in 8 games. The manager needs to find a solution. Otherwise, for me,
have I got time to come in tactically on that?
Yeah, go on. Yeah, quick.
The one thing I wanted to agree with you on about the substitutions, when I did the game at Selhurst Park the other week, right? He made the substitution at half-time. He took off Conor Bradley and Szoboszlai went at right back. 15 minutes into that game, put Szoboszlai back into the midfield and put Frimpong at right back. You know, so these are the subs. I agree with you. I completely agree with you.
Yeah. This is what I mean. And the second he took Szoboszlai out of right back, we looked rubbish again. I'm not saying Szoboszlai is a right back, but when our best, he's the only one that can invert. That's why he looks like our best right back, because he's the similar build to what Trent can do when the game's in front of him. It works a treat, but I don't know, man. The tactics are scaring the life out of me. And yeah,
it could all improve. Montel, big game at the weekend, and actually a bit of a kinder run of fixtures on paper to come. Thank you.
Thanks, Montel.
Take care, guys.
All right, guess what, guys? The weekend is upon us and club football is back. Here are the odds for the Premier League title favourites, and Arsenal still firm favourites to win what will be their first title since 2003. We'll see if they can do that. Well, let's welcome back in Don and Gab for this one. Now, Don, last week on the show, and I know Shaka doesn't have a lot of faith in your percentages, but you gave us a 50-50% for either Arsenal or Manchester City after what we saw from them to win the title. So after what the news that we got from this international break, with the fact that Gabriel was in action with Brazil and now he's going to be out for at least a month, does that peg Arsenal back a bit now, or is it still 50-50 for you?
No, I think it's still 50-50. I think they've got players that can come in. I mean, no one's Gabriel for them. I think he's one of the most important players for Arsenal. But City have got a very tough game away at St James's Park against Newcastle. North London derby coming up for Arsenal. So I just think it's very, very early. The start that they've had has been magnificent. I think they have been flowing. The game against Sunderland was a hard-fought 2-2 draw, and I thought Sunderland deserved their point out the game. But you look at the fixtures coming up. I mentioned London derbies for them, so that's where the difficulty is going to come. But there's so much time, and there's so many games to try and say, right, who's a standout favourite? I know it's what we like to do, because as fans and as analysts and pundits, we try and predict the future, and we look into the crystal ball and we think, right, who's good, who's flowing, who's struggling a little bit. Take Liverpool completely out of the equation. I don't think they're ready for a title charge at all. So City, I think it's a captain obvious shout what I'm going to say, but after this weekend we'll know that a little bit more, because as I said, there's hard fixtures to come.
Hi, Captain Obvious.
Well, let's have a look at the Premier League standings there. Manchester City, they're in second, and as we know, they have chased down Arsenal before. Up next this weekend, they do have a nice little trip to St James's Park to face Newcastle. And if we have a look at Newcastle's form away from St James's Park, we know it has not been well. Usually we call St James's Park quite the fortress, but Don, if you look at it, they have lost to some big guns at home, the likes of Liverpool, Arsenal, Barcelona, but they did manage to beat Spurs in the League Cup. So how do you see this game going?
Listen, I'd fancy Newcastle against anyone at home. I've been up there. I've seen them beat the likes of Man City in a cup. I've seen them beat Paris Saint-Germain. I've seen them beat Man United. I've seen them beat anyone, Tottenham by 6.
But not Arsenal.
Newcastle are a different animal.
And not Liverpool, and not Barcelona.
Just keep naming every win they've ever had.
You say not Arsenal, but not Arsenal this season. They beat them there last season and the season before. So you're looking at a microcosm of a fixture when you say, well, they can't beat Arsenal anymore. Well, only one game, because they've beat them plenty of times over the last couple of years. So
but this season's the one that matters,
Newcastle are a different animal when they play at home.
All right, let's go to our other Newcastle guy. Shaka, what do you think then on this one? Because I know...
To Don's point, both the winners against Arsenal and Liverpool came in injury time at the very end of the game. So, and Liverpool were flying high at the time when they went to St James's Park and won. Arsenal are flying high all season long. Are Manchester City the equivalent of early season Liverpool and current Arsenal. Now, I still think no. I still think Arsenal are the best team in the league, bar none. So now the question is, do Manchester City, as good as they have been, do they have what it takes to go to St James's Park and win? I still know, as hopeful as I am that City are the team, and I believe they're the only team that can make this any kind of a title race later on, I just don't think they're as good as Arsenal. I don't think they can go to St James's Park and win. I think Newcastle, their away form is really kind of shining on them negatively. They are far better than their league position would suggest. At home, they get it job done.
Somebody, because Don is not going to be able to do this, somebody has to explain to me, right? How can this be 50-50 Arsenal, Manchester City, when Arsenal are leading by 4 points? So just by that logic, you cannot have the same chance of winning the league if you're trailing by 4 points.
This is by Don's standards.
Yeah, well, but Don's standards, well, you have to grade on a curve then.
You know Don's percentages are curvy.
Don's percentages are curvy.
Yeah, that's just...
They're all over the shop.
Let's let Gary.
Ali's obviously not capable of looking at my percentages or the algorithms of Shaka. When Man City have chased down Arsenal a couple of times over the years. No, I'm bigging them up.
Mine are
Shaka, I'm bigging them up.
No, you're not.
I'm bigging them up, Shaka.
No, when you line them to your percentages,
Ali can't get into gear.
No.
Ali can't get in. He can't get in the algorithms. It comes from a more. Ali comes from a more simplistic place. Ali looks at it very simply. He looks at the points tally, and he goes,
again.
Arsenal are 4 points clear. They should win the title, and they will win the title.
But right now
it comes down to emotion, Ali, and the bottom
right,
of the team. Can they get it done?
Right, fantastic.
50-50.
Beautiful. Okay, all of that is great. But my simple mind tells me that if a team is up 4 points, right now where we are, because the percentage is now, not 6 months from now, the percentage is now. My very simple mind tells me that team is more likely to win it than the other team.
Gab, you've got the Italian hands up. Let's let Gab in, because he's got the Italian hands up.
Alexis said to me, Gabriel's injured.
Let me explain.
Does that change the equation?
Now, you're overcomplicating this. Let's keep it in a simple way that ex-footballers understand.
Okay.
You guys all play golf, right? Yeah. Think
Not
of
very
it
well, but
as a handicap. Yeah, Ali, if you play off a 12 and Craig plays off an 8, then you have an advantage, right? Because it's a handicap. But it still might be 50-50. That's what he's saying. He's implicitly saying
Gab, I appreciate
Manchester City.
Gab, I appreciate you trying to explain
That's
this.
how math works.
I appreciate what you're trying to do here. But if you think Don gave it that much thought as to somehow project this into a golf handicap, then you're really overestimating Don's ability to do simple math.
I think Don gives it a lot of thought. He loves his percentages.
I'll tell you what then, Ali. If you are so confident Arsenal will win the league, go and take £10,000 of your hard-earned money and go and stick it on Arsenal.
Hey, how about
you are that confident?
Hey, how about you pay me the dinner you owe me that you haven't paid?
Don't touch the question.
The bet you lost to me. The bet you lost to me. You can pay that, and then I will put the £10,000 on my hard-earned money. Good Lord.
Do not dodge the question. That will be paid when I see you in the summer. Gabrielle's going to be a big loss for them. That was the question that was posed.
Boy.
All right. Should we leave it there?
I have no idea what's going on.
I got percentages aren't really.
The future of Ethan Nwanery's potential loan move is suddenly uncertain, as Arsenal remain wary of repeating past setbacks caused by injuries. According to recent reports, the club is open to sending the young midfielder out on loan this winter, but the idea raises immediate questions. Nwanery has become the talk of the moment after a report from the Daily Mail suggested that Arsenal are considering a temporary move for the 18-year-old. Despite his limited minutes this season, the thought of letting him leave, even temporarily, comes with significant doubts. Back in October, Mikel Arteta publicly insisted that Nwanery would have plenty of opportunities to play, pointing to the fact that the teenager had already been called upon when Martin Odegaard was injured. I don't know, But I don't work with expectations, Arteta said at the time. I work with what the players can give in the context of where the team is at that moment. Ethan played 2 Premier League matches early on because Martin was out. He's played in other competitions and he'll play more. Yet the reality has been very different. Nwaneri has logged fewer than 500 minutes this season, appearing in just 5 of Arsenal's 11 Premier League games, none of them as a starter. His only starts came in the 2 EFL Cup wins over Port Vale and Brighton, and in the 3-0 Champions League victory against Slavia Prague. The arrival of Ebereki Eze and the promotion of Max Daumann have tightened competition even further. And despite injuries to Odegaard, Bukayo Saka, and Noni Madueke, Nwaneri's pathway has only narrowed. It's easy to forget how young he still is. At 18, and having first debuted at just 15, like Daumann, these are formative years where consistent playing time is crucial. The busy festive period could open that door, but with Odegaard, Madueke, and Kai Havertz all nearing their returns, there's a real chance Nwaneri could slide even further down the pecking order. This is why a January loan sounds logical on paper, but it also sets off alarm bells. Arsenal's season has already been shaped by injuries for the second year in a row, and squad depth has never felt more essential. A single setback among the attacking players over the holiday fixture run could thrust Nwaneri back into an important role almost overnight. The more sensible approach may be to reassess in the summer, once the squad naturally reshapes and the club have a clearer picture of their needs heading into 2025. Only then would a loan feel more secure, ensuring Nwaneri actually gets the minutes he needs rather than risking another stalled development. Even then, nothing is guaranteed. Supporters will remember Serge Gnabry's loan to West Brom, intended to push him closer to first-team football, but ultimately a move that derailed his progress before he rebuilt his career in Germany. Arsenal's recent history with loans has been mixed at best, and too often unsuccessful. For now, the club must weigh the immediate needs of the squad against the long-term growth of one of their brightest prospects. Whether a loan becomes the right option, or another cautionary tale, remains to be seen. But the complexity of Nwaneri's situation extends beyond simply playing time and squad depth. Inside the club, there is an ongoing debate about how quickly young talents should be exposed to the pressures of elite-level football. Some staff members argue that Nwaneri's technical level is already above many players his age and that keeping him close to Arteta's structure will accelerate his development. Others believe that without consistent starts, and without a clear pathway to earn them, his progress could plateau. The uncertainty has also stirred conversation among supporters and pundits. Several former Arsenal players have expressed concern that the club may be repeating old patterns, where promising youngsters become trapped between first-team aspirations and inconsistent minutes. Others, however, believe the club is being careful for the right reasons, protecting a player who still needs physical development before facing the demands of weekly Premier League battles. This internal and external pressure has placed added scrutiny on Arteta's handling of young talents this season. While he has been praised for trusting academy graduates in the past, the balance has become harder to maintain now that Arsenal are competing on multiple fronts and aiming for silverware. Every decision carries weight. Resting senior players risks losing points, while overusing inexperienced teenagers risks injury or decline in confidence. There is also the broader question of what kind of loan would actually benefit Nwaneri, should the club eventually decide to pursue one. A move to a Premier League side fighting relegation could offer minutes, but expose him to a demanding environment that prioritizes survival over development. A championship loan, on the other hand, might provide consistent matches, but at the cost of adjusting to a more physical style that does not always align with Arsenal's tactical identity. European options have been mentioned as well, though not confirmed. The possibility of joining a club in the Netherlands or Germany, leagues known for nurturing young talent, has been discussed quietly among observers. Yet Arsenal are hesitant, given how unpredictable such moves can be and how often they fail to produce the expected results. Meanwhile, Nwaneri himself remains focused and professional, according to those around the training ground. He is said to be eager for opportunities, but not frustrated or discouraged. The coaching staff admire his attitude, which only complicates the decision further. He is doing everything right, and still his future remains uncertain. As Arsenal approach the January window, the club finds itself at a crossroads. The next few weeks will likely be decisive, not just for Nwaneri's short-term career, but for how Arsenal choose to manage their most gifted prospects in an era of high expectations and relentless schedules. Any decision made now will be examined closely, not only because of what it means for Nwaneri, but because it will signal how the club intends to balance ambition with development as they move into the next phase of Arteta's project. Arsenal now face a difficult setback. Piero Hincapié may have to step into the North London derby under less than ideal circumstances after Gabriel's injury blow. The club is hoping that Hincapié's long late return trip to North London won't affect his readiness to replace Gabriel against Tottenham, because losing the Brazilian for such a crucial match is a major hit to Mikel Arteta's plans. Arsenal have already been forced to cope with key absences at various stages of the season, but Gabriel missing the derby presents a challenge of a very different magnitude. Naturally, the focus shifts to who will fill the gap on the left side of Arsenal's defense, and for many, the most logical answer is Piero Hincapié. The summer signing impressed during his only start for the club so far, an outstanding display at left centre-back in the League Cup win over Brighton. That night, he partnered with Christian Mosquera, who is also an option for Arteta on Sunday. One possible configuration would see William Saliba move to the left, with Mosquera taking his place on the right, depending on how heavily Hincapié's international travel weighs on Arteta's decision. And that travel is far from insignificant. The Ecuadorian defender is currently away with his national team. He captained Ecuador during their 0-0 draw with Canada, helping secure the clean sheet. But the real concern comes with his final international fixture. Ecuador face New Zealand in New Jersey in the early hours of Wednesday morning, UK time. The match kicks off at 1:30 a.m. and is expected to finish around 4 a.m. Only after that will Hincapié board his flight back to England, meaning he won't arrive in London until Wednesday afternoon at the earliest. From there, he will have just a handful of days to recover, settle back in, and prepare for one of the most intense fixtures of the season. The slight silver lining is that the derby falls late in the weekend, giving him as much time as possible to reintegrate. Still, the timing of his return is far from ideal and adds yet another layer of uncertainty to Arsenal's defensive preparations ahead of a match that could define their momentum for weeks to come. Beyond the logistical headache, Arteta and his staff must also consider the physical and tactical demands that a North London derby imposes. It is not the sort of match where a defender can arrive underprepared, particularly against a Tottenham side that has looked sharp in attack this season. Any hesitation, any lapse in intensity caused by travel fatigue, could be costly. Inside Arsenal, there is a quiet concern that the club may once again be walking a tightrope with its defensive depth. Over the past 2 seasons, injuries at the back have forced Arteta into uncomfortable choices, and Gabriel's setback reopens a conversation that the club hoped was behind them. The manager has repeatedly emphasized the importance of continuity across the defensive line, especially given how central the high defensive line and controlled build-up are to Arsenal's identity. Gabriel and Saliba have been at the core of that stability, and disrupting it inevitably changes the team's rhythm. Analysts close to the club have noted that Hincapié's profile fits the role well, confident under pressure, quick across the ground, and capable of progressing the ball with either foot. However, they also caution that he is still adapting to the Premier League's pace and physicality. Throwing him straight into a derby environment may accelerate his integration, but it also carries risk. Supporters have expressed mixed reactions as well. Many are eager to see Hincapié given a real opportunity, believing his style suits Arsenal's long-term plans. Others worry that asking him to deliver immediately, under difficult circumstances, could place unnecessary pressure on a player still in the early stages of adjusting to English football. The timing of Gabriel's injury also complicates Arsenal's broader goals. With a congested winter schedule approaching and the title race tightening, every match takes on heightened importance. Dropping points against Tottenham could shift momentum, not just in the standings but in confidence across the squad. It also forces Arteta to rethink how he manages minutes for defenders who have already logged heavy workloads this season. Club insiders say the staff have been preparing contingency plans for weeks, anticipating scenarios where international duties and injuries overlap. Yet even the best planning can be stretched thin when travel delays and late-night kickoffs are added to the equation. In the coming days, the medical and performance teams will conduct assessments to determine exactly how ready Hincapié is for Sunday's showdown. Arteta is expected to make a late decision, balancing long-term health with short-term necessity. The hope is that the Ecuadorian arrives in good condition, responds well to training, and can at least offer a reliable solution in Gabriel's absence. What remains undeniable is that Arsenal enter the derby under a new layer of pressure, forced to adapt, to trust their depth, and to test the resilience that has been a defining theme of their season so far.